Well, I hope everybody enjoyed their Canadian Thanksgiving as much as I did. And I sure did. Excuse me. But there was a mass amount of so much released this Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. It was epic proportions. So much. So many people had no time to digest it in Canada, and I know that. I was pumping it out steady between spending time with my girls and dinner and my son and all the good things we did today. Kids are on their way home. My son took my girls back. We had a great weekend. We did a lot. I have many projects I'm working on. 4 trailer projects. Today it was a little one actually for my son. A little trailer for equipment hauling. He needs up for the snow flies. But the truth bombs Trump released over this weekend and where that took me was insane. Was completely insane this weekend. And the reality of where Canada is, where so many Canadians are in so many different directions. And I want to say this, and I should have tagged Benjamin Ebley in this and Jonathan Bahai. I think I'll go back after the video's done. But folks, Benjamin Ebley knows he has a mass amount of Americans that visit his page. I have quite a few too. I'd say there's probably 50 Americans on our page active. There's 250, but generally active every day. I have about 5 Americans generally tuning in to almost all my Facebook lives. Very serious folks indeed. And I get messaged, I get PM'd, and then I see comments. Benjamin has seen it too with Americans. And before I get into this weekend of absolute American truth bombs by President Donald J. Trump, and where that took me in very quick order when I researched the firms involved, researched the companies denied, which ones are accepted in Canada, specifically Alberta, specifically Western Canada. Serious highlighted corruption that Donald J. Trump goes through in 2 serious posts this weekend on Truth Social, and that's during him getting ready for Gaza and Israel, which is massive late last night. All his interviews aboard the United States plane, presidential plane, Air Force One. That was huge. So much of it huge, devastating for Canada. Highlights of Canada's corruption. If you haven't read the post on colleges and universities in the United States, Donald J. Trump's post on China, his interview on Air Force One where me and Xi Jinping are talking aboard Air Force One, went into a lot. They've both seen a whole bunch, disclosed a whole bunch. And really, these are warnings, Canada, the government of Canada, the provinces who honestly don't give a shit. They don't, and I say those words like that, like a lot of Canadians. Americans, right across both aisles, Canadians, they give a shit. They don't want to hear excuses as to why Canadians feel that they don't have to do anything about the situation at hand. Americans hate that in overwhelming majority. It doesn't matter, left-leaners, central, or full-on right Republican Americans. These Americans are following us for Canada, the 51st state, over and over again, do not like the sense of entitlement by Canadians, the sense of, oh, well, it's up to President Trump to do something about it. When's Trump going to do for me? When's Trump going to make my life easier? Even though I've never done anything for myself to make my life better, or deal with the corruption of the Canadian government system. It's not my problem. I'm to get all the perks and privileges, but somebody else, especially a foreign leader, is to do that for me. Or trust the plan, don't worry, all these conspiracy theories of a military complex that's going to come save all Canadians. I'm sorry. That's not President of the United States. It's not constitutional in the United States. It's an act of Congress. You've got to win bipartisan support, meaning both sides of the aisle, because literally it's that tight in Congress today. And then Senate has to back up Congress. There's a little more leeway leaning Republican. But again, when it comes from acts that must start in Congress under congressional power, they're absent of the President of the United States. Folks, you got to wake up. Americans are really distasteful viewing the comments in large majority, especially on Canada, the 51st state page. One post, 356 comments, well over 500 likes and loves, mostly all Canadians. And Americans tag me in that, message me that, more than a dozen as I go through messages. And they're really like, your people are screwed. Even on the page, what they think they're entitled to, or what they think USA is responsible for, or what they think the President of the United States should do for them, even though they don't contribute in any tax, way, shape, or form to the United States. You're not bound to the United States in any meaningful way. Why would the President of the United States, or any congressman, or any senator, or any state level delegation from governor, the executive of any state, or the state level Senate or Congress or House of Representatives, they have some different versions there, and some don't even have Senate. Not many, but some don't even have Senate. But why would you think you're entitled to anything and any action from the United States on your benefit when you don't contribute to the American taxation system at all? And quite frankly, Americans are digesting the fact that Canada has been moving in illicit and nefarious directions for multiple decades, and Canadians from left to right spectrums have largely remained ignorant of that, unaccountable, unaccepting of the consequences, and basically don't know any better, say, well, it sucks, we allowed this, now do for me, help me, give me freedom in your system, because if you make me American, I won't be exactly as I am today in Canada and as I have been my whole life. Do you understand? There's a process the United States goes through when it goes through visas and allowing people citizenry in the United States. You have to pass tests. You have to go through a gauntlet of things to prove you really want to be an American. And yes, largely the United States has restricted us massively in the last 30 years. It's been going boom, boom, boom. And especially after NAFTA with the new USMCA, we were all greatly restricted. I know this too. And the reality is, we all allowed the mass immigration. We all allowed all these countries that hate the United States of America, that are really threats against the United States of America, to enter our country, and we supply them. We've allowed that to continue. There's been no verbal outcry from any kind of minority of Canadians. Conservative-leaning Canadians loved it under Stephen Harper, accepted it. Liberals doubled down on that. Majority of Canadians love it, accept the political consequences. And, if you're an American from their point of view, why the hell would they want people who are so blind, so willing to go along with the government program, and then in large masses turn around and blame Americans for all their problems in their domestic country called Canada, not created by America, created by Canadians and the politicians that they chose and voted in, and didn't rise up when it was, oh, this is a crisis, didn't rise up, oh, this is a crisis, elect another dirtbag to continue it on, and then Americans have to say, listen, you don't make those fundamental changes in your country. You don't. Americans go to war all over the world all the time like no other nation on earth. Canada's nowhere near that, not even close. And Canadians, you should know this just by your military size, your GDP investment just into things like NATO, NORAD, many other UN operations. They're at the very basic, if even just at a supportive rate. Besides funneling massive billions to Ukraine, what does the Canadian government and people really do around the world that's effectual or meaningful compared to the USA? The answer is nowhere near. Not even just the size of country. We're talking per person per capita investment, moral fortitude in those narratives for what's right, sticking to your guns and actually going out there and doing the job. Now, Americans do that, Canadians don't. And we can keep going, well, in World War II and World War I, well, that's really great. That's 70 and almost 90 years ago. Okay. What have you done lately? What is it you do that cements the sovereignty and security of North America and the United States? Well, we've clearly been drifting away from that since about the 90s. Absolutely, 1985, we made a direct change away from the United States forevermore. Rights of the parents versus rights of the government over parents' children. Canadians went the way of government rights over parents, parental rights for government rights over children. UN Declaration of the Rights of Children. You all went that way. You didn't kick, you didn't make a fuss. 90s came, Paris Climate, all these socialist initiatives. Canadians did nothing about it. You supported the Conservatives. Then you supported the Liberals. You supported every provincial government, continually adopting a position of how can we destroy America. Donald J. Trump this weekend went into a massive detailed post on colleges, universities, AI, all these evil things that come right out of the Oxford world. I've told everybody, pick up an Oxford dictionary, pick up a Webster's dictionary, just look up the word sex. Sex. Now, just so everybody knows, Oxford's an 1800s dictionary. Webster's is older than that, 50 years older. Yeah, Canadian subjects, before you were Canadian subjects, under the British North America, you had no literacy. You didn't even have a dictionary. The only reason why you got an Oxford dictionary is because America got independence and they created one for the English-speaking people. Americans were far more literate through the 13 colonies and ordinances in developing these things than any of the British Empire subjects. They were all kept ignorant, stupid, and without literacy at massive, incredible levels. Not by accident. The kings and the government spoke French and Latin and a combination Pig Latin, language of kings and your government. They were all literate in those languages, and their first class, while you, the 90 percentile, were left as dumbed down subjects, slaves. Slaves. no different than American history. They came largely from the southern states through the Spanish Empire, French Empire, and British Empire. That was imposed on America. America went to a civil war to remove all that. After developing a dictionary, translating words for the general population of Americans in the new free world, free America, independent America. Oxford folks quickly scrambled, came out the new dictionary. So, Webster's, you look up the word sex, man and woman, male and female. This is hundreds of years old. You pick up Oxford, 50 years younger than Webster's. Do you know what sex tells you? Man, woman, same sex, people who are identify as other sex, yeah, all perverted from the crown, all in Oxford. That's where woke comes from. English, Oxford. Everything outlined by Donald J. Trump this Thanksgiving weekend for Canadians, our Thanksgiving, that detailed, in-depth post, everything he itemizes is all about the Oxford Dictionary. That's all about the British Commonwealth, most of the European, and absolutely all Canadians. That is what you're raised and educated on. That's why you're so woke. Has nothing to do with left and right ideologies. It has everything to do with the dictionary you grew up in. Now we look at these northern states of the Union bordering Canada, British North American ties, the march across west, as the 13 who taught Webster's moving out west, and then you get migration of the Catholics coming into the U.S. in mass numbers, and even American immigration. What did they bring with them? Woke Dictionary, Oxford, which is a lot of the corruption of northern states, yes, Democrat states. Their big universities and college are with the woke dictionary called Oxford. We can go through word after word, and the reason why Americans get their hairs on end and get themselves in a bunch is because what they're raised with in English and what's defined in their dictionary is not the rest of the English world. They're an Oxford woke dictionary. All the woke terminology is found in Oxford, not Webster's. Webster's written first by Christians who rebelled against that old world where all those people escaped that subjugation to be free. And then the War of Independence and Webster's Dictionary. Then you have British subjects, British North America remainders. This is absolutely all the French and even the Spanish down south, and absolutely all of the English Anglophones in British North America remaining that would be Canada. Yes, they're all Oxford. They're all raised woke in a woke dictionary. Literally. Why is this a big deal? AI, USA, overwhelmingly going to be the most powerful presenter of AI coming. $500 billion. Far outpacing little old Canada, most of Europe, Britain, and we can go through the Commonwealth. Maybe combined, they have some stature, but think of one country, the United States, overtaking all of them. Now, they present open AI. Webster's defined and trained AI to be brought into Alberta, Canada. Grand Prairie, Alberta. A massive AI facility. Oh, you had Kevin Leary, Danielle Smith just 8 months ago. 8 months ago. Yeah, let's do it. And then, OpenAI Webster's. We can't have Albertans taught that, or Western Canadians, or any Canadians. And folks, Premier Danielle Smith, you can pull it all from Trump's post. He goes through all of this. He leads you to go see what happened. Okay, so, but Canada's got AI. What happened to the Grand Prairie Open AI? What? Oh, Danielle Smith passed Red Deer AI. Okay, never heard of this, but I've heard of Pembina Institute. That's a far left organization. Oh, wait a minute. I've heard of this other one with Meta. What's this? In Heartland Country, right in Edmonton's Refinery Row? What are these two? One's officially approved. The guy who runs that, the one that's approved in Red Deer, is Agenda 2030, 2050. Absolutely central in the last 30 years of corporate farms in Saskatchewan, Alberta. 15-minute cities, smart cities. He's been there all along from the conservative governments of Alberta. NDP, of course, was with them. The former mayor of Edmonton, he stands there on a stage. I've got all of his funding and financing spreading the corporate farming system in Saskatchewan. The dairy cartels. Oh, yeah. Everything Trump highlights, this guy is numero uno one on every one of those agendas. Been with the conservatives and the liberals alike. Original crafter and think tank specialist on 15-minute cities, smart communities, 15-minute communities, all over major cities, all across Western Canada, led by provincial premiers who are conservative. This is Saskatchewan and Alberta predominantly. The guy has a lot of money. He's in the tens of millions of dollars from nothing, apparently, but well funded by the liberals and conservatives alike. He's attached, all of his orgs are attached to the liberals and conservatives in Canada. Undeniable. Undeniable. Trump bust 101. Do you think that's the major one? That's a small one in central Alberta, Red Deer. An Agenda 2030, 2050, 15-minute city, dairy cartel, and corporate farm crafter. Real deal. This guy's done it. Oh, by the way, he wasn't born in Canada either. He's from India. But all the conservatives and liberals love him. Super BRICS guy. These are all communist ideals, BRICS ideals. This was the former Soviet Union. When they had their nuclear city, that was the first 15-minute city ever created. Chernobyl. Yeah, Principat. The one that got nuked, had the meltdown. Had that not happened, Soviet Union would have kept going. They probably would have made all of the Soviet Union a 15-minute city. That communist regime. Well, it's alive and well here in Canada, and it's conservative and liberal. This is just off Donald J. Trump's post and the rejection of OpenAI in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Canada and the province of Alberta are nope. There'll be no Webster. There'll be no freedom. There'll be no teaching our subjects about being a citizen. We won't let your filthy fucking AI program our slaves. Our slaves remain Oxford ignorant. They will be commie before they ever in hell ever be free. That's Premier Danielle Smith. Premier Scott Moe, as evidenced just by that AI owner who's been approved to build in Red Deer, and all his legacy in the Western-dominated conservative provinces through the Conservative Party of Canada, and yes, the Liberal Party of Canada, at absolutely an embedment of the Alberta government and the Saskatchewan government. Massive more Alberta government, but nonetheless, in a majority conservative run of terror over the last 30 years. So don't anyone ever tell me, because this is Donald J. Trump and the Trump administration. That's what they highlighted. That's what they know. And you know they got help from Xi Jinping on this. China and Trump talking on Air Force One. Again, if you haven't watched the Bloomberg, you'll get the rest of that, especially on the AI and the open AI rejection in Grand Prairie. Crickets, where's Kevin O'Leary? I thought he was this great total business guy. Or no, he's a socialist too, and a bullshitter, an Oxford plant, and everything he got out of Canada is through Canada's socialism and the Crown. A fraud, a fake, a phony, like every other Canadian first class. Now, the worst is this Heartland that's tentatively soon to be approved, 6 days ago announced. Do you know what happens when I chase Donald J. Trump's post and I chase all the companies down? It goes like this: ping, 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 through Alberta, all the massive attachment of the government of Alberta, all the conservatives in the government of Alberta today, all the way to these pipeline and pension funds back east, right to an Albertan who is responsible, who's going to be the CEO of this Oxford AI in Heartland, to teach all Western Canadians, and probably all Canadians, but in the heart of Alberta. He is the Dominion voting machines creator. His team that's taking over the AI. That's what Donald J. Trump wanted us all to find. It took me all of 7 minutes to go through the 4 listed companies. My mouth hit the floor because I end up the beginning to the end, and the final company he owns, his sub company, is Dominion Voting Machines Canada. He's responsible for creating them. He's responsible for the machines in the 2020 election. What do you call that? If you think Alberta or Canada is going in any direction with the United States, you're sadly mistaken. They're in fact, on the list as the number one, ahead of China, corruption of American politics and the American system. Republicans are waking up. This stuff is undeniable. I made massive posts. CTV. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, non-stop. And it was really easy for me to search. Trump made it that easy. That's a specific post. You later watch his interview with Bloomberg on Air Force One on the way to Tel Aviv, Israel. There's 2 other interviews I didn't watch. I read the read-up on it, but and he says, don't worry about China, everybody. We're sorting it all out. Xi Jinping had a bad day. And I'm going to tell everybody, Xi Jinping, on 2 occasions, including the last one I published at CTV News, don't use China, Canada. Don't think you can use China, a UNSC P5 power. They've told Canadians twice, your government, twice. And they think they can play a game, manipulate the United States, manipulate China. We're in so much dire straits coming out of this weekend and going forward. I don't know. It's uncharted territory. It's way off anything I ever knew. And what was really unbelievable is Trump's 2 posts, very detailed posts, were easily able to break this down in the AI, easily able to chase the rejection of OpenAI, easily able to chase the corruption of Canada's government and all the Western provinces, especially Alberta, where it's like literally you can't blame this on NDP. You can't blame this on Liberals. Not that they're all involved in a mega way. We all know that. But this was Look here. This is all conservative, not a liberal amongst them. What do you think the Trump administration thinks? And why do you think he hates Pierre Poilievre so much? Why? What did Pierre Poilievre do with China? What did Pierre Poilievre do under Stephen Harper with the corruption of Canada to destroy America, damage America, take America on, pit America against China, strengthen China to overtake America? What do you think those two countries are thinking today? What do you think they're thinking? And Canada's just going to play around in the middle like the British Empire always did? Hee 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 ha ha. Can never be honest, always manipulative, always causing trouble, always behind the scenes doing the most damage, the most evilest, nefarious things. That's the weekend here, folks, of massive, epic truths, huge bombs. I called out Maxime Bernier on Friday. I called him out. I highlighted his corruption too. And he panicked, and then he goes on a charade about COVID-19 shots and all the deaths, abandoning all immigration as that's not the leading source. And I can't believe Canadians can't get through their brain. Friends and followers who are following me, Americans get it, and still many of my friends and followers don't, who follow me on a big basis. So when we talk about 1 million Canadians a year, there is federal immigration program. That's 480,000. Hey, everybody. What? That includes refugees, all the bullshit. Federally. Where does the more than 600 other thousand immigrants come from? Where does it come from? It's called PNP, Provincial Nomination Program. Yeah, the provinces control immigration too, equally to the federal government, and in fact have taken in more through that program. More. PNP. You didn't get 1.2 million. You didn't get the current million, all from Mark Carney's announcements. His, or as he states, look, we've lowered it. It's 485,000 from well over 525,000. We've lowered it. So where did all these extra people come from? The expansion of the provincial nomination programs. You just listen to the RCMP talk about the massive program and corruption in the mega millions of dollars in PEI to buy up all the land so that foreign nations control the ports, just like British Columbia. Yeah. Going on since 1962 in BC. And interprovincially, the Crowns have been organizing this. And then others jump on it. Worst being Quebec's corruption of BC, the French language model, and Chinese piggybacking, paying out through Quebec to get to BC, the BC government making money and then paying off the Quebec government. And then Alberta was third province to go, me too, started in 1980. Oh yeah. And we've been raging on that. And not one other person out there could figure this out. And even today, it's there, and the RCMP are screaming it on a podcast, and everyone can get everything out of it, but every Canadian. But I don't want to talk about the PNP program. Look, China, blame everybody else. Trump did this, China did that, everybody did this. We didn't do anything. The province, under its Section 92 to 142 powers, massive powers, did this. Section 91 is the federal government. Small section of things. Provincial governments have a giant section, multi-pages of things. Lots of pages. I've taught this stuff lots. Which brings me to my friend Marilyn Burns, who did a very powerful video. She's doing a whole bunch of powerful videos, education on YouTube. I'm very impressed with. Takes on the Myth is Canada. Goes through 1931 tells you how Canada, the only Commonwealth country in that, was bound and unable to amend the British North American Acts. Yeah. Remember what I told you about US-UK treaties? Remember what I told you? Remember what Trump told you? What I highlighted? I went through the United States further than Marilyn. Her video's great and I love it. She's right there on the right track. But I went way further than her. I'm mega years ahead of her, and it's not. She's articulate, beautiful, and super highly intelligent. But there are acts beyond the British North America Act that is where you find the codification and ultimate powers of the one vested to Section 91 with pure unstoppable authority, and then Section 92 to upwards of 142, depending on the province, and premiers, and they have the absolute authority and power. What codification gives them that power? It's not the Constitutional Acts of 1867. It's not the earlier British North American documents converted into that. It's actually under Louis XIII and King George III. That's where you find it all. And it's way before times. This is French Empire, British Empire, North America, and the codifications invented worldwide. The title of Prime Minister and Premier were created in this current territory known as Canada, the country. Those titles were created here. They didn't exist anywhere else in the world, even though today they're all over the world. The evil of socialism and fascism, what created Nazi Germany, what created South Africa, what's currently in law since 2018, one of the 10 basic laws of Israel that's turned it into a socialist and fascist state. And as much as I love Donald Trump and what he's done, he has not stopped that evil. He can't stop the Oxford evil, the pure socialist and fascist, because Canada is still that way. Canada invented it. These terms, these systems were created in this country called Canada before it was Canada, before it was even British North America, when it was a kingdom of French and British Empire in its limited territory. The 13 colonies were under one of those empires. Oh yeah, Canada is central to the most nefarious elites, global elites, the world's ever known. An epic creation. Folks, I don't say any of this for any other reason. That's the absolute, deep dived, 100% truth that the best academics in the United States of America will point at me today and say, he just told you exactly what is the truth that we have logged in America, that we charge people money to learn about when they want to learn a doctorate in the United States on these constitutional truths. You got to pay to learn that. I did that on my own, guessing and researching, polling more and more and more through reading umpteen amount of volumes of works, more over a 10-year period. That's where I am. Insane, people could say it's a mass amount of knowledge. A lot of people would say, who would want to put in all that time to get there? Well, I did. And I did care enough to do that. And that's the truth. And Marilyn, I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of what she presented in her latest video on her YouTube series. It is beautiful, but it's not the end-all and be-all. You're just getting started. And there's even more that overrides that. And there's a reason why they put in the arrangement that you can't amend the British North American Act, aka 1867. 1982 is amended because of Lord titles of Prime Minister, and some of these avenues can be done by the First Lord's premiers. Some can be, depends what your executive act of your province states that was created out of British North American acts, aka the Constitutional Acts of 1867. Provinces don't have constitutions. Your ability to become independent is basically handicapped and crippled under those powers. And more than that, the arrangement that the UK has, they have an override over that, and they will use it. We've just never gotten to that point as any region. Now, will Alberta do that? Will Trump help that along? Sure. But as I've stated, you're not going to be a recognized UN state. Always get zapped as soon as it gets good. Anyways, folks, that's my video. A ton of truth has to be shared. I couldn't even put all the links in the title to this epic weekend. Everything's before this video on my Facebook. You click on my profile, you will see overwhelming evidence based on everything Donald J. Trump articulated, went through this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What I'll give CTV credit for, what they showed in question period, what you should all know now today. It's undeniable evidence of mass corruption of the Canadian system, as it's always been, to keep people slaved, subjugated. Agenda 2030, 2050, 15-minute cities, it's all there. These people are running the show, and they're going to be educating all of you Canadians, and they're going to be restricted from the United States of America. That's what we know. And the USA is restricted from having Webster AI anywhere near Canada because it's the Crown's sovereignty that's under threat, not yours. And that's the problem with the blind slaves. But folks, that's my video. Share, share, share. Get it out there. It's huge. It's epic. I know people don't want to look at it, but it's to your detriment. And you will never get out of this Canadian model system. USA's never going to save you. There's no military complex coming to save you. America and statehood, you've got to prove yourself. You've got to deprogram yourself. You have to want to be American. That's more than just saying, I want it, but you have to make it happen for me. It's about you effectually getting there. How are you going to make those changes? How are you going to change your country? Because no American wants people coming to their country that when push comes to shove, oh, I'm not doing it. The government told me not to. I'm going to obey. They don't want those people. That is opposite of what American is. Americans have accountability. They have civics. They have civil responsibility. It's ingrained in them. I have to do this. If I don't take responsibility, or if I don't act, or if I don't get involved, all these bad things are going to happen. They get involved. They love their country. They protect their country. They protect we the people. Every year, on average, 2 state amendments are done by a We the People initiative. All 50 states of the Union. So Americans are not constitutionally lazy. Canadians don't even know what that means. What's a constitution? Oh, what? I'm supposed to have a provincial constitution? Oh, but I waived my charter. Or I got an Alberta Bill of Rights right here. Wow. Wow. Those are not the highest laws of your land. Those are supposed rights the Crown Lord giveth or taketh away. Americans are highlighting to me, I saw it on the Alberta Independence Party page, an exchange of 2 people. Daniel Smith is my God. Another one going off on a left tangent. But in so many different directions, Canadians don't know which way is up or down. And they float back and forth like bobbleheads on the water and roll over, drowning. Is that up? Is that air? Oh, I'm under the water. They don't know where they're going. And that is from the Oxford education you got under your crown. And Americans say If you want us and this system, you've got to fight for it at your terms. And if you fight for it and you put it all in and you get your ass kicked, we're there to pick you up because at least you proved yourself. But if you can't even be bothered, and you're going to go, well, I don't want any trouble, I'll just wait for the government, or I'll wait for Donald Trump to deliver me. You're never going to be delivered. You're never getting to the U.S., and you'll never get citizenship, and likely won't get a green card, because they don't want those kind of people. They have a system in place to keep those kind of people out. That's my video. Take it as you want. It's epically truthful. A mass amount of info this weekend, all on my timeline before this video. You gotta go grab it. You gotta go read it. Share, share, share. Get it out there. So many people don't want to face the truth. It's coming. You're gonna have to face it, or you're going to end up in a third world state. There's no doubt about that. God bless. Bye now.